Good afternoon, America. Good afternoon, Rochester, New York. And thank you for joining me. This is Chad Hummel on the Got Freedom podcast. I appreciate everyone that's jumping on here and listening and watching on the We the People podcast network. Sorry that I'm running a few minutes late. I bumped my normal time from 4 to 4:15, and apparently I wasn't even able to stick to that. So I sincerely apologize for being late. Just lots of running around to do lots of things going on. But thank you for being here again. Chad Hummel on the Got Freedom podcast. We're here live right now on the We the People podcast network. And of course, tell all your friends and family members and colleagues that if they didn't get to tune in live, they can always go back later and subscribe to the We the People podcast network on Facebook. These videos are also, these podcasts are also available on YouTube. And thank you to Austin. Austin is with me here today. He's my producer, Austin from Rockvox Productions. There's
Hello.
Austin with the now infamous thumbs up. That's the thumbs up from Austin over there. He helps make this happen. So we're gonna get right into it. We have another busy Tuesday here on the Got Freedom podcast. Let's go, Brandon. Let's go. That's an interesting first name, Austin.
Yeah.
Is that German?
Yeah. Yeah. It's actually, I think it's let's go.
Let's go, Brandon. I love it. I love the name. And Mr. Lesko, or Mr. Brandon, I guess, wants to know if I'm going to the DC convoy. I don't know, President Biden, if I'm going to make it to the DC convoy or not. I did see some information about that on social media. Let me know when it is. Throw up a date on there, but I don't know if I'm going to make it or not. Yes, my OG account is in Facebook jail. Yeah, that's pretty common nowadays. Many of us, for speaking the truth, of course, lands us in Facebook jail. So, you know what, actually, Austin, I was going to start with something different, but on that note, on the whole idea of going into Facebook jail and me saying, and others just like you that are listening and watching, we say things like, well, the reason why we're in Facebook jail is because we told the truth, right? And of course, that's self-serving, so nobody believes us. And the people over there at Facebook, their reason, of course, for putting us into Facebook jail is because they claim that we are spreading disinformation, misinformation, of course, mostly, if not all, pertaining to COVID, right? And obviously, as we always say, right, this is kind of becoming cliche, but I always say that cliches are cliches for a reason because they're true. As I always tell you, whatever the left, whatever the censors at Facebook, the censorship types at Facebook are doing and saying, it's always the opposite, right? They're always doing the very thing that they're accusing us of doing, and that is spreading lies, spreading misinformation, right? So I don't know if Lesko Brandon or President Joseph Robinette Biden, formerly of the KKK, I believe. I don't know if he has a Facebook account or not, but if you or I were to spread a lie or misinformation about COVID, such as this, and we have you've all seen this before. This isn't new. This is something that is circulated for some time on social media. But if you or I were to go on Facebook and tell a blatant, outright untruth or a lie or spread this misinformation about the efficacy of the vaccines, do you think that we would land in Facebook jail? Do we have that video?
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Let's just play that about five more times.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations. You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
One more time.
You're not going to get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Yeah. Yeah, that was President Biden, right? That was President Biden. You've seen it before. and we get put in Facebook jail, right? If we say that the thing with the needle and the liquid and the fluid that the school nurse wants to put in your kid's arm, I can't say the word because if I say the word, I risk our We the People podcast network getting tossed into YouTube jail like it has been so many times before, mostly thanks to my podcasts. But that thing that they want to stick in your arm, right? 2, 3, 4 times, get your booster. I think I could say booster. I don't know if that triggers anything, but yeah, that thing. So if we spread a lie or disinformation according to their worldview, if we say something like that, then obviously we're branded as liars and anti-vaxxers. And, oops, I just said the word, and all that. And we're thrown into Facebook jail. But President Biden can get right on TV, stare right into the camera with the biggest bully pulpit in the world, right? Who has a bigger pulpit to speak from? Who has more followers, so to speak, and more listeners and more viewers than the president of the United States? And I'm not even just referring to Biden, of course. That's any president, right? Once you become the president of the United States, if you put a microphone in front of yourself, then you have the biggest following that there is in the world, and he can lie, right? He can just lie right into the camera and tell you that thing that they stick in your arm actually works, and that you won't get COVID. And of course, it's obvious, especially for those of you watching and listening that did get vaccinated. Oops, I said that word again, and did get COVID. Well, right? The truth is the truth, right? I guess is the best way to put it at this point. All right, so we'll move on from that. Now, I did a little something today, Austin. I did a little something. I made a phone call today. You know why? Because I was curious. Let me take these headphones off. I like to keep the headphones on at the beginning of the show because I like to listen to that awesome bumper music, and I wouldn't hear the awesome bumper music if I didn't have my headset on. But once I get going here, I don't really need the headset on. Nobody's talking to me in that headset.
No, but you're about to play an audio clip.
Oh, see, and hence the reason why Austin is here, because he has to keep me in line. So let me. Well, it's going to take me about 3 hours to set it up, right, Austin?
That's true. That's true.
Exactly.
You know what? Yeah, take a break.
I have to first get into the weeds before I set up or before we play the actual audio clip of. Oh, wait, who's that? There he is. There's
right in the weeds.
There's the podcast host in the weeds for good measure. Oh, we long for the summertime, don't we, Austin?
Yeah. Hey, we got like 2 more days before the next winter storm.
Supposedly, I heard that. I mean, it's going to stretch across 2,000 miles.
What?
Of the country? Yeah, the snowstorm is going to stretch across 2,000 miles of the country.
Oh my gosh!
So basically, I think that's from Victor to Chilai, I believe.
Right? Yeah, that sounds about right.
It's about 2,000 miles. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a big snowstorm, right? It's called climate change or global warming or something like that. And yeah, there's going to be, I heard, up to 20 U.S. cities that are supposed to get potentially all-time record snowfall. So 20 U.S. cities, I think I heard, are going to potentially get all-time record snowfalls in the next 48 hours, starting on Thursday. So, all right. So where were we? I made a phone call today. So you've all seen. I mean, I've been a purveyor of it, mostly of our local officials. Adam Bello, Dr. Mike Mendoza, Kathy Hochul, and you name them, Bob Duffy. They all like to preach that we all have to wear a mask, right? It's out of respect, it's out of safety, it's to keep everyone safe. It's not for you, it's for your neighbor. Your mask protects me, my mask protects you. All the propaganda that they've been spreading. And the propaganda wasn't good enough, so they actually started passing mandates and rules and regulations, and we all think that they're laws now because perception becomes reality. So when you walk into a store or a restaurant or your kid's school and they tell you that you can't come in unless you wear a mask, and then they threaten to have you arrested, and they do have you arrested. Many of you have been arrested or have at least been threatened to be arrested. Of course, I was arrested for not wearing a mask outdoors, but then it becomes de facto law, right? I mean, what's the difference if it's a rule, a regulation, or a mandate? If the police come and arrest you, you call it a law at that point, even though it's technically not a law. So when the propaganda didn't work, when them trying to fake scare you into you're going to die unless you wear a silly cloth mask as you're quickly walking by somebody at Wegmans, never in close contact, and you think you're going to die from that interaction from two healthy people passing in the night. When that wasn't enough, then they came in with the mandates and the regulations and the laws, right? Yet the very people, and this is, I know, a dead horse, but the very people who continue to force feed and shove down our throats that we have to wear masks at all costs are the very people that, not in hiding, right? Not in their own homes, not behind closed doors, not when the cameras are off, but when the cameras are on, when they're at press conferences, they openly flaunt the very mandates and rules and regulations that they force feed down our throat. And perfect example. There's Kathy Hochul. Can we see the date stamp on that photo? I don't know if that came through or not, Austin, when I sent that to you.
Yeah, it's
what does it say down there?
December 10th.
Yeah, December 10th. If I'm not mistaken, that's December 10th, 2021. And maybe you all recall what was happening on December 10th of 2021. If I'm not mistaken, December 10th, 2021 was the date that Apostle Hochul announced the blanket indoor mask mandate. Of course, it started off with schools and hospitals and healthcare settings and places like that. That started off back on August 27th. And then on December 10th, Kathy Hochul steps up and tells all private businesses, anything that's not a private residence, essentially, she instructed that everyone had to wear a mask indoors. So as she's making the announcement, she's indoors in the state of New York, and she's not wearing a mask unless, having the mask around your neck like it's a scarf is, going to prevent the spread of this dangerous, deadly disease that's going to kill everybody. So there's Kathy Hochul. We have pictures of Adam Bello, our local county executive here in Monroe County. That's Bello a few weeks ago at, some press conference, right? What do politicians do? They call press conferences and they speak just to get their faces in front of the camera. I think those boxes in the background there at that particular press conference were masks or tests. Those were tests. So that was around Christmas time, and they were bragging because they had all these free tests. They spent $750,000, $750,000 of our taxpayer money on these tests. And he had to get in front of the camera. So there he is without his mask on, right? Indoors, after the indoor mask mandate was put into place unilaterally, illegally by Kathy Hochul. There she is saying, you have to wear a mask indoors with no mask on. And then a week later, we have Adam Bello giving a press conference indoors without a mask on. And then just a couple days ago, which was that next picture that you threw up there, this was just, I think maybe even yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday. This was yesterday. That's Congressman, I'm not sure if I could say man or not, but Congressman Joe Morelli there in the pink tie in the background. I like pink. Pink looks good on me. There's Joe Morelli in the background. He has his mask on, right? And you know why, right? You know why Adam Bello's at the podium with his mask off, but Joe Morelli is clearly within 6 feet of him in the background with his mask on. You know why? Because in the mandate, in NYCRR 2.60, which is the mandate that forces people like you and I, the peons, to wear a mask while we're indoors, except when we're doing a podcast. See, I'm in front of a microphone. I just gave it away. There's an exception. There's an exception to the rule in 2.60, and it says that if you are a politician standing in front of a microphone, then you don't have to wear a mask. And that's in there, right, Austin? You read through that and found that in there?
I'm looking through it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I gave it to my crack research team, my legal research team.
You didn't highlight that. I'm not.
Yeah, you didn't find it in there, did you?
I'm not seeing it.
Let me help you out. You didn't find it in there.
What?
Because it's not in there, right? Of course it's not. Obviously, I jest. But this is the lunacy and the hypocrisy and the absurdity. And it, quite frankly, it's just downright nasty and evil. It's downright nasty and evil for these people like Adam Bello and Kathy Hochul and Dr. Mike Mendoza. We've seen all those pictures. We don't need to see them again. It's evil for these people to constantly beat into our heads that we are under the threat of criminal prosecution if we don't wear a mask indoors, as they almost daily get on TV indoors without a mask on. So, like I said, it would take me about 3 hours to set up what I did here today. So today I made a phone call. Let's listen to that phone call.
County Executive Office, good afternoon.
Hi, can I speak with Adam Bello, please?
I can take a message for him. He's not currently available.
No shit.
Okay, this is Chad Hummel.
That's me.
Okay.
And my number is 360-2792.
That's free attorney advertising right there.
360-2792.
Yes.
And this is in reference to?
Well, I'm just curious as to why he doesn't wear a mask when he's indoors.
Pause.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask him if he had some legal exemption to wearing a mask indoors. I've seen him at press conferences many times over the past couple weeks without a mask on indoors.
Is he speaking?
Yes.
Well, he probably takes it off to speak.
Yeah, that's not one of the exemptions under the law.
Okay, bye-bye. Did we lose the part where she hangs up?
Oh, I don't know. That's the end of all I had.
Oh, yeah, she didn't hang up on me, but she said, "Okay, I'll have him call you back." It was kind of like, "All right, bye-bye. We got to get rid of you now."
Oh, okay. Sorry. I did not have that part.
That's okay. That's okay. So we're going to in a second we'll play that again. But you heard the end, right? I mean, if I could have scripted the phone call, you couldn't have made up a better response. I mean, I give her credit. She was thinking on her feet he was he speaking? Really? Was he speaking? Okay, as I pointed out, obviously that's not an exception to the mask mandate any more than being in front of a microphone is. But is he speaking? Oh, I don't know. Is speaking not when you are projecting moisture droplets out of your mouth? Isn't that when you should probably have the mask on, right? I mean, are you more likely to be spreading COVID if you're standing, not speaking? But, it's like I can't even, it's almost like I have to manufacture the outrage at this point because it's so, again, like I said a few moments ago, it's just so blatantly hypocritical and nasty what these individuals are doing, saying one thing, doing the other, doing one thing, saying the other, that it renders you speechless at this point. And if you listen carefully when we play this again, you could almost hear the trepidation in her voice when I bring up the fact that I'm contacting regarding Bello and his mask. So let's just play that one more time.
County Executive Office, good afternoon.
Hi, can I speak with Adam Bello, please?
I can take a message for him. He's not currently available.
Okay, this is Chad Hummel.
Okay.
Okay.
And my number is 360.
Did you hear that? Okay.
2792.
Oh yeah.
360-2792.
Yes.
And this is in reference to?
Well, I'm just curious as to why he doesn't wear a mask when he's indoors.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask him if he had some legal exemption to wearing a mask indoors. I've seen him at press conferences many times over the past couple weeks without a mask on indoors.
Is he speaking?
Yes.
Well, he probably takes it off to speak.
Yeah, that's not one of the
Let's stop
exemptions
there.
under the law.
To be fair to her, he clearly is speaking right there.
Oh man. And of course, after I hung up, I immediately thought of all the things that I could have said and wanted to say, but I was almost so taken aback by her remark that her question for me, was he speaking as if that is some sort of logical, scientific, medical, linear, legal response to my inquiry. It almost shocks the conscious at this point. So I was just so happy to actually get somebody on the phone. I literally thought that when I called, I would, get one of those 3-minute phone trees that you had to navigate, and then get somebody's voicemail. So the fact that somebody picked up and answered the phone, a live person, that was pretty impressive. Austin, what is, are you a gambling man?
Only recently, that mobile sports book.
Oh
stuff.
yeah, you got
Ooh.
sucked in too, didn't you? Which one did you get? The Caesars app?
No, I got DraftKings.
DraftKings.
Everything was going great until the
Until you lost.
Chiefs and Bengals.
Yeah, I didn't do so well in that game either. So
yeah.
Well, now apparently, now that gambling is considered legal in New York State, we can openly talk about it on the air, right?
I assume so. I don't know.
Yeah, I would assume so too. But well, who knows? We'll see. We'll see if the FBI storms into the podcast here. Wouldn't doubt it at all. Maybe for other reasons.
I was gonna say that's not going to be the reason they're storming into the podcast.
That's a good point, Austin. See, the guy's sharp. Austin is sharp. So anyway, so I was asking you, are you a betting man? And you said that you are now. So my question is, what do you think? Well, how much would you bet on Adam Bello not calling me back?
Oh, I would bet everything that he's not going to call you back.
You'd bet the house?
I'll bet the whole house.
The whole house?
Every every dollar in my wallet.
Yeah, and I wouldn't take that bet. I agree. Yeah, Adam Bello's is not calling me back. And that's a shame. That's a shame because I'd love to talk to him about it. In fact, Adam, I'd love to have you on the podcast. You don't have to wear a mask. You can come inside my building. And I would ask you to wear a mask when you first walk in, when you come through the lobby, and then when you walk up the stairs to the podcast studio. But once you're sitting down and in front of a microphone, now you have two good protections in place, because we all know that COVID doesn't spread when you're sitting down. And now we know that COVID doesn't spread when you're speaking in front of a microphone. So Adam Bello, I extend the invitation for you to come on to the We the People Podcast Network. You can have a seat in front of a microphone. You'll be fully protected from COVID, and you can. Wendy, you know what? Wendy's got a good idea. Wendy says I should make him test first. Nah, those tests are no good, Wendy. You know that. So as long as you're sitting down, Adam, and you're in front of a microphone and you're talking, you don't have to wear a mask while you're over here at 530 Titus Avenue. And this is your stomping grounds, Adam. Adam lives right here in West Irondequoit. In fact, I believe his home is about a mile from my office. So you're right around the corner from me, Adam. If you're listening and you're on your way home right now, swing by. You're welcome here. And I mean that sincerely, with my tongue in both cheeks. But I am sincere. If you want to swing by 530 Titus Avenue on the way home here in Irondequoit, Adam, come on up to the podcast and we'll talk about it. We'll talk about why you don't have to wear a mask when you're indoors. You can come on here and explain to your constituents. You can explain to the thousands of people who have seen my podcasts and who will hopefully watch this episode of the podcast. You can explain to them why you, as the Monroe County executive, And maybe you can speak for Kathy Hochul. Maybe, you have the same mentality as Kathy Hochul, where you're in power, you're in a position of authority, you're in a position where nobody's going to call the police on you and threaten you with trespassing inside of a building without a mask on. So I'd like you to come on and explain that mentality, explain how that works, explain, how you can sleep at night, knowing that you are causing tremendous strife in your constituents' lives, and many, many, many of your constituents' lives, including young children. You can explain why it is. So, with that said, as far as the children, let's jump into what's going on with the mask lawsuit that you're all familiar with. Last Tuesday, we discussed what was going on with the masking lawsuit. It was pretty ripe last Tuesday. And then, of course, unfortunately, by the end of the podcast, a stay was put into place. That's a great point, David. David says the kids should bring a microphone to school. I agree. If you walk around with a microphone in your hand, you don't have to wear a mask. So, last Monday night, as you know, a court ruling came out of Nassau County that said that the mask mandate is unenforceable, and that included for all indoor locations. I know we talked mostly about the school, but that actually covered all indoor locations in New York State. Unfortunately, by Tuesday afternoon, around 4:45, an appellate judge jumped in and ruled that the stay would be removed and that the mask mandate was back in effect pending the outcome of the lawsuit. Since that time, there's been another appellate hearing. And unfortunately, again, just yesterday, another ruling came out that is essentially declaring that the mask mandate will be and will continue to be quote unquote enforceable, even though it's really not enforceable at all, other than through threats of criminal trespass. But the court has ruled that it will remain in effect pending the final outcome of the litigation. And just quickly, it's real technical in the law, but basically what that means is until a final determination is made in this lawsuit, the status quo will remain, meaning the status quo of the original masking mandate that came down on August 27th and then was extended to all indoor locations on December 10th. And it's now been re-extended again, as you most recently heard from Kathy Hochul, I believe until February 13th. So that so-called mandate, to the extent that it's lawful and enforceable, which I don't believe it is either. The Nassau County Court judge didn't believe it was either. That probably wasn't good grammar, but in any event, I think you understood what I was trying to say. And that is that mask mandate is going to remain in effect until the final outcome of this lawsuit. And if the final outcome of the lawsuit goes in our favor, and of course, by our, I mean, those of us who don't think that the government mandating us to cover our faces is lawful. If that outcome is in our favor, then obviously the mandate goes away permanently. If the outcome of the lawsuit is that the court rules that covering your face is a good option and it does make sense, even though, again, we've covered it all. We all know how ridiculous it is. In fact, we know that the mask doesn't work anyway, but there's just no practical lawfulness to it when, if you're standing up, you have to wear a mask, but when you're sitting down, you can take it off and all the other nonsense, right, that we've seen and heard with our own eyes and ears. But if a court ultimately rules that the government can force us to cover our face with a mask, well, then I guess we're going to be forced to cover our face with a mask unless and until we do something about it as free Americans. So that's where we're at. It's pretty sick. It's pretty unfortunate that this is where we're at, but it is where we're at. So we'll kind of move on from that. Unless Austin, if you see anyone that has any specific questions about what the status of that lawsuit is, I'd appreciate it if you just bring that to my attention, and I'll try to answer any specific questions people have about that.
Okay.
Thanks. Along those lines, one of the things that one of the fallouts of what happened last Monday and Tuesday was many of you sent your children to school last Tuesday morning, without a mask on, and you did so lawfully and rightfully, and you should be commended for having the courage to do that, the courage to follow the law, that is, right? And many of you, of course, were met with immediate opposition from the school district. I watched many of the videos. I've spoken to many of you. I met with many of you right here in my office to discuss what happened last Tuesday. And essentially, as you know, what happened was you tried to walk your kid into school, and somebody from the school district, typically it was either the assistant principal or the principal of your kid's school, greeted you at the door and physically confronted you, essentially, and told you that your kid was not going to be allowed to come in the school. Or if your kid did go to school on their own and made it into the building, they were immediately whisked away to the principal's office and stuck in the principal's office and told that they weren't going to be allowed to leave the principal's office unless they put their mask on. And that, of course, is illegal. It was illegal last Tuesday. It was illegal, it was unlawful, and it was unconstitutional because there was a court ruling in place. And I did discuss this last week at length, but what I want to discuss now is the fallout of that. And the fallout of that has been many of you parents have now received a letter from your superintendent telling you that you are no longer allowed on school property until the end of the year. From what I saw, this mostly occurred in the Greece Central School District. I'm actually working with one parent right now directly on this issue. And the superintendent in Greece, for example, actually the letter came directly from the Office of Campus Security, the director of Greece Central School District Security. His name is Stephen Chatterton. And Mr. Chatterton saw fit to write 5 parents in Greece a letter essentially threatening them, right? Essentially telling them that they are no longer allowed on Greece Central School District property. And if they do not obtain prior written permission to come on campus between now and the end of the year, then the Greece Police Department will be called. A direct threat, right? A direct threat. You come on campus, right? You're a parent, you're a taxpayer. You come on our public property where your child goes to school, and we will call the Greece Police Department. Okay. Does that sound legal? Do you need a lawyer to figure out whether or not that's lawful, whether that's legal, whether that's constitutional? No, you don't. In fact, it's directly illegal. It's directly unlawful. It's tyranny. It's being a bully. It's harassing. It's intimidating. And it's threatening. And it cannot be tolerated. It just cannot be tolerated. The school district, the security guard at the school district has no authority to tell a parent that they cannot come on school property unless that individual parent has possibly broken the law. Okay, so obviously a simple example would be, let's say at a high school football game, you become so enraged at a bad call by a referee that you run out onto the field and you push the referee over. Okay, and the police are summoned and you're charged with assault in the 3rd degree. Well, then clearly, I think most of you would agree. I don't ever like to put words in anyone's mouth. I like, free expression of opinion. So if you disagree with what I'm about to say, then feel free to tell me. But I think at this point, most of you would agree that if somebody were to conduct themselves like that, then it would make sense for the school district to tell that parent to take a timeout, right, from coming to the school. But of course, just like there's exceptions to wearing a mask indoors, apparently, for guys like Adam Bello, there would be obvious exceptions to that rule, wouldn't there be? If you have to pick up your child or drop off your child at that school, we're not co-parenting with the government here, are we? So it is public property. But in these instances, what the school districts like to do is they like to come with the full force of everything that they think they have, of all the authority that they think they have. They like to throw it on you like a ton of bricks, right? They don't take any half measures. They don't take any quarter measures. They don't do anything measured. They just want to punish, especially now, right? Especially during this COVID area. the COVID era, I should say, where they've been given all of this fake authority from people like Cuomo and Hochul and Biden, and they don't want to relinquish any of it. So they need to be as heavy-handed as possible. So at the slightest offensive move by a parent, offensive to them, of course, right? And the example is this. I watched the videos. I've met with the parents. You walk up to the door and you say, hey, little Johnny's coming into school today and he's not going to wear a mask because there was a court ruling yesterday that says that he doesn't have to wear a mask. And the principal says, no, little Johnny's not coming in the building. And the parent's response is, yes, he is. He has the right to a free and fair education. And the principal says, no, he's not coming in. And the parent says, well, then are you denying my son and daughter an education today? Well, they're not coming in unless they put a mask on. Yeah, but they don't have to put a mask on. And then you turn around and leave and you go home because you don't want any more confrontation. Then you get the letter. Then they come and trespass on your property. The Greece Central School District, at that point, they come and trespass on your property and tape a notice to your door that says you're no longer allowed on Greece Central School District property unless you get advance permission. Otherwise, you'll face arrest by the Greece Police Department. That's where we're at. Those are the examples that have led to the Greece Central School District telling parents that they'll get arrested if they show up on school property. Not running out onto the field at a football game and attacking a referee, right? Not storming into the school, running down the hallway, bursting through the principal's door and screaming at the principal and pounding on their desk. Nope. None of these parents did anything remotely close. Every one of these parents did nothing but attempt to follow the law, right? They did nothing but attempt to follow the black letter language of the judge's decision in Nassau County, which was the law of the land last Tuesday. Okay? Some parents had read the decision. Some parents had heard about the decision. Some parents listened to the lawyer's very own words on social media, where he told them and instructed them, the very lawyers that litigated the case, the very lawyers who were most intimately familiar with the effect of the judge's ruling. And those lawyers got on social media and told every parent in New York State, you absolutely have every right in the world right now to send your kids to school without a mask on. Yet they were greeted at the door by pissed off principals who were worried that they were going to be relinquishing all of their COVID regulation powers to control our lives and our kids' lives. They were met by these pissed off, angry principals. And then they were served letters. Then the school district authorized a trespass on their personal property at home to deliver them a notice telling them that they're no longer allowed on school district property. The only person that should get a letter that says you're no longer allowed on school district property are these superintendents and these principals who flagrantly and openly decided that they weren't going to follow the law last Tuesday. And if they weren't going to follow the law last Tuesday, are they ever going to follow the law? Right? Why would they? They knowingly violated the law last Tuesday. So what's going to happen when a new ruling comes down at some point that says, well, let's say we get the final outcome of the lawsuit a month from now. You know, that would be nice. It's probably not going to happen that quickly. But if in 30 days, the Court of Appeals of the state of New York, the highest court in the state of New York, renders a final decision that says that the mask mandate is unlawful, unconstitutional, and unenforceable, the same way that the Nassau County Supreme Court judge did, what are the superintendents going to do then? Because I'll tell you what my superintendent's going to do. Let me read to you what my superintendent is going to do, right? Here's my letter from the East Irondequoit superintendent, and I'm sure you received the same letter because they all write the same thing. They're all getting their marching orders from the same place. This is what my letter says. Bear with me. Dear families, this letter's dated Monday, January 31st, right? So this is yesterday. This letter's dated yesterday. So this is after, of course, the judge instituted the stay on the lower court's ruling, right? The stay meaning that the mask mandate will continue until the lawsuit proceeds. Dear families, on behalf of myself and our Board of Education, I want to thank you for your patience as we take every step possible to keep our students and staff safe throughout the pandemic, right? They always start with that bullshit. Read every letter and every email that your superintendent or your principal has sent on a COVID matter. And it always starts with, our goal is to keep your kids safe. No, actually, that's not your goal. I know that's what you're saying. Your job is to educate our children. It's our job as parents to protect them when it comes to medicine and science. That's between us and our pediatrician. It's not up to you, Superintendent Grow, or Superintendent Groutman in Greece, or Superintendent Perro, I believe, in Pittsford, or I can't think of all their names right now. She goes on, I would like to clarify some of the confusion surrounding the New York State mask mandate in schools. Really? Are you a lawyer now? How is Mary Grow, not trained in the law, not trained in how to read a court decision, going to clarify some of the confusion? And when she says confusion, the only confusion that there is, Mary Grow and Groutman and Perro, the only confusion is you won't follow the law. And Bo Wright and Henrietta. That's the confusion. So they make these straw man arguments, right? They make these straw man arguments. You're arguing about one thing, and they just start talking about something else completely different and arguing their point about something else completely different that has nothing to do with the issue at hand. The issue at hand is a Supreme Court in Nassau County made a ruling that was black and white and clear as day, and you chose to ignore it. And therefore, when the parents came to school to follow the law and you wouldn't, that created confusion. So I guess you're right. There was confusion generated by your inability, your willful refusal to follow the law. That's the only confusion that occurred last Tuesday. She goes on, masks continue to be required on school buses and in school buildings as part of our COVID-19 safety protocols and school board policy. Notice how she doesn't say anything about the court ruling. So she's referring to these generic, quote unquote, COVID-19 safety protocols and then school board policy, right? Because most school boards right now have a policy on their books that parrot the New York State mask mandate. In addition, so here she goes on though. In addition, masks are currently required as part of the determination by the New York State Commissioner of Health dated January 13th, 2022. For your reference, copies of this determination are attached. This regulation requires masks to be worn in PK to 12 schools until it expires on February 21st, blah, 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 blah. We recognize that the court will issue a decision soon regarding this regulation. Here's the key. We will continue to monitor this litigation. And ready for this? And follow directives issued by the New York State Education Department, the New York State Department of Health, and the Monroe County Department of Health. Let me say that again. We, meaning the school district, we will continue to follow directives issued by the Department of Education, the Department of Health, and the Monroe County Department of Health. So that's the State Department of Health and the Monroe County Department of Health. You're not going to follow the law? You're not going to follow the court ruling that's going to come out eventually? Are you serious, Mary Grow? Are you serious? You're declaring openly on the record in an email that you are going to simply follow the directions of the Department of Education, the Department of Health, and the Monroe County Department of Health. You're not going to follow the court ruling, right? And that's true. It's not a mistake. She didn't just accidentally leave off that part, right? This was, of course, carefully written, carefully thought out. And it doesn't even matter what her words are because her actions predated this letter. The actions of all of the Monroe County superintendents predated these words, right? So we talk about actions and words, and you know, actions speak louder than words. The actions of last Tuesday, where there was a court ruling and they chose to ignore it, is already proof that they have no intentions of following the court orders and any future court orders. Excuse me. And then this email just puts the cherry on top, right? This email that I got from Mary Grow in the East Irondequoit Central School District, and I'm sure you received a similar email from your superintendent, it just puts the cherry on top. They are not going to take any direction from a court of law. They are only going to take their directions from the New York State Department of Education and the Monroe County Department of Health and the New York State Department of Health, which is the very crux of what is being litigated in this lawsuit, right? The Nassau County Supreme Court judge ruled that the very fundamental reason for his decision was because the New York State Department of Education and the New York State Department of Health and the Monroe County Department of Health don't have that authority to require masks. That's the entire crux of the litigation. So any decision that the Court of Appeals, the highest law in the land of New York State, any decision that they make ultimately in this case that eliminates the mask mandate is going to eliminate any directives from the New York State Education Department on this issue. Yet Mary Grow is already telling us, and again, it doesn't even matter what she tells us because she already did it. And again, all the other superintendents did the same thing. So I'm not specifically picking on her. Yes, Mike Mendoza is a pathological liar, in our opinion. Let's go, Brandon. We agree. They're not going to follow the law. And they're telling us in advance that they're not going to follow the law. So let me quickly, we're running out of time here. It's almost 10 after 5. And I know I started late, so we'll try to get as much of this in. But that leads me to some action that we could possibly take here. So I think that the reason why the email is written this way, and if you received a similar email from your superintendent where they specifically state that they're going to follow the Department of Education and the Department of Health, and they don't mention anything about following the law, I think the devil's in the details on this one, as it typically is in these situations. I think what Mary Grow's doing, in my opinion, is covering for their lawyers, right? I told you last week that it was my opinion, my belief that they were advised last Monday night by their attorneys that that they didn't have to follow the mandate, the court decision, I should say. And I believe if that was the case, that would be illegal. That's illegal. It's unethical for lawyers to advise a client to break the law. It's my opinion that that's what happened. And this email would seem to buttress that because the superintendent specifically does not reference the lawyers in the law. And it would be my follow-up opinion that that's because Mary Grow doesn't want there to be a record of any inference that she's taking advice from lawyers. Because again, if she acknowledges openly that she's taking advice from their lawyers in declaring that they're not going to follow the law, well, then it wouldn't be in my opinion anymore. I would have the proof, right? And of course, they're not going to hand us that proof. They're not going to put it in writing. So if the lawyers advised them last Monday night not to follow the law, and now the lawyers are advising them how to write this email, then obviously the lawyers would advise them, don't mention in here that you're taking any legal directive. Because I'll tell you what, and this is a fact, I have emails from Mary Grow going back over a year. I have emails from Mary Grow where she has no problem telling me that she's taking directions from her lawyer, where she's told me specifically in emails, well, the lawyers are saying this, and the law is this, and the law is that. So they do take directions from lawyers directly. They have conversations with lawyers directly. So I highly doubt, it would be very suspicious and suspect that in such a hot button legal issue right now, they wouldn't be taking direct advice from their lawyers. So it's very curious to me that this email is carefully crafted without any reference whatsoever to lawyers and the law. So what we need to do, parents, is we need to be filing freedom of information requests with the school districts to demand any and all correspondence and communication between the superintendents and any of their agents at the school district last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, basically from last Monday morning until now, right? You want to see any communication by in between them and the Department of Education, the State Department of Health, the Monroe County Department of Health, and any lawyers. Ask for that communication, right? Watch them run and hide. flood the zone, flood these school districts with requests for the communications by and between the school district and the Department of Education, the State Department of Health, the Monroe County Department of Health, and their lawyers on this issue of the Nassau County Court ruling, right? Because somewhere in there, we're going to find the truth. They can't hide from the truth forever, okay? They blatantly lie to us all the time. They blatantly ignore the law when the law comes out. They tell us that they want to follow the law. They want to follow the law. They want to follow the law. Their hands are tied. They don't want our kids masked, but they're forced to follow the law until the law says the kids don't have to be masked, and then they say they don't have to follow the law. I mean, could it get any more absurd than that? It probably will, unfortunately. I'm going to cover one more quick topic here. Actually, maybe two, if I can. Austin, do we have some posters to show these people? These wonderful listeners and viewers of mine. Ready for this, folks? This is the real deal here. This is what's coming to a wall on your child's school, inside your school's, your child's school, very soon. These are posters. Can we zoom in on that, please? These are posters that were apparently commissioned by the New York State Department of Health, and they're now being delivered to the school districts, right? More propaganda for your kids to read on the wall at school. It's safe? Is it really? Is it safe? Myocarditis? Is it safe? It's effective? Well, Joe Biden says it is, right? Joe Biden says you can't get COVID if you take a vaccination, but
You're
we
not
already
gonna
know that
get
that's a lie.
COVID if you have these vaccinations.
Yeah, it's effective, right? Well, that's a lie. So we know it's not safe and we know it's not effective. And then, of course, it's free, right? I mean, we could never, ever, ever get the government to do anything, to issue any propaganda unless they were declaring that it's free, right? That's part of any propaganda that the government issues. It's free. Obviously, it's free, right? I mean, the CEO of Pfizer clearly works for free. I mean, clearly, right, Austin? I mean, have you seen the guy's yacht?
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's
you've seen
basically
my yacht.
Gandhi.
It's basically what?
Gandhi.
Yeah.
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 The
I mean, it's
CEO
like,
of Pfizer.
yeah,
Absolutely.
it's like a canoe, right?
Yeah.
The guy-
exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course. And I'm sure, and you know that, and then that, you know, that plane that, what's it called? Air Force One or something, that plane that Joe Biden flies around in, that's all free, right? The gas, all the fuel that the leftists who are tree huggers, that they dump all over the world. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So, but it's free, right? Obviously the vaccine's free. The CEO of U of R and all the doctors and the virologists and the immunologists and this, that, and the other, they all work for free. The superintendents, the nurses at the school that are going to be sticking the thing in your kid's arm, they're working for free. It's all free. So it's safe and it's effective and it's free, right? And that's the propaganda that they need to inundate your child's mind with for the next however many months, up until next September, when they're going to mandate that your child take the vaccine. Let's take a quick look at the next poster. This is the best, right? I mean, just like Kathy Hochul's necklace says, right, with vaccine. I mean, isn't that so freaking clever? Vax to school. Vax to school safely. I mean, you get the play on words, obviously, right? Back to school, vax to school. So it's not back to school, right? They have to destroy everything that's innocent, anything that could possibly be innocent and enjoyable and precious about your schools, about your child's school years, right? Their young educational years. They do whatever they can to destroy that. So New York State goes vax to school safely. So your kid is not going back to school safely in September, right? I didn't make this poster up. This poster was generated by the Department of Health, certainly with the assistance and the urging of Kathy Hochul. Make sure your child is vaccinated. That's going to change soon. It's not going to say make sure. It's going to say it's mandated, because your child will not be able to go back to school safely. Your child will go vax to school safely. And what else does it say there in the fine print, Austin? Help your child what?
Get #vax to school ready. Visit vaccines.gov to find a vaccine location near you.
Yeah, and get your $100 gift card. Yep. And then last but not least, ready for this one? Backpack, check. COVID-19 vaccine, check. Pencils, check. Now, which one do you think I have a problem with, Austin? Out of those three?
You're a big pen guy. You know, not big into pencils.
Damn. See, you're on to me. You're on to me. You selected the right one, the pencils, but for the wrong reason. So I'll give you you get half credit.
Okay.
You get an A for effort and a D for outcome.
Perfect.
Which is like a C plus, basically. Will you accept a C plus?
Yeah, that's
I'm a tough
how I got
grader.
through college.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Well, I shouldn't say that out loud. That was college, folks. Law school I did phenomenal in for the first semester. Anyway, so you got your backpack, right? So you go to Target and you're like, hey Johnny, come on, we're gonna go to Target and we're gonna get your school supplies. Oh yeah, mommy, this is great. I want those Buck Rogers slapsticks over there, and I want this backpack, this red backpack over here. That's great. So you get the kid the backpack, and then little Johnny's like, mommy, can we get some pencils? I want some pencils. I want these awesome pencils over here, right? There's these Los Angeles Rams pencils. They just won the Super Bowl, so they're my favorite football team now. Can I grab these pencils? No, Johnny. We're following the list that the school gave us, right? The list says backpack. We got that. Now it says COVID-19 vaccine. Well, see, the good thing is you're at Target. And there's a pharmacy at Target, I think. So you can kill three birds with one stone here. So you just run right over to the pharmacy real quick. So you got to leave the pencils on hold, right? You got to pass the pencil aisle. Okay, Johnny? Can't run down the pencil aisle yet. There's many people on the pencil aisle right now. And if you go down the pencil aisle before you've been jabbed in the arm, you're going to get people sick and they're going to die. So we need to first run over to the pharmacy, get jabbed in the arm with this so-called vaccine that does not prevent you from acquiring or transmitting COVID, and then we can go get pencils. So, but my real issue, Austin, though, with the pencils is, do kids use pencils anymore? I haven't seen my kid use a pen or pencil in years at school.
I think they misspelled Chromebook.
Exactly. See, he's good. You know what? I should just let him do the podcast. That's great because I couldn't have said it better myself. Is that exactly? These kids aren't using pens and pencils anymore. They're using iPhones. They're using their Chromebooks. They don't write. There's no textbooks. But whatever, right? I mean, you get the point. The point is that if you do not plan on getting your child vaccinated, then you might as well make alternative plans now. And I'm dead serious about that. Back in 2019, there were many parents that were on the front line fight when they eliminated the religious exemption in New York State. Many of us had religious exemptions for our children from the normal vaccine regimen that has always been in place. And, that was enforceable. That was part of the law in New York State, and that was eliminated. And New York State lost thousands, tens of thousands of students. The public school system in New York State lost tens of thousands of students over that removal, over the religious exemption issue. So this is just step number 2. This is the nail in the coffin. They are coming after our kids for the vaccines. These are the posters that have already been created. These posters are now out. They're in your schools. They're going to be on the walls pretty soon. And don't ask me where I obtained these posters from. Thank you to the people who got them, if you're listening. And yeah, and that's it. So your kids are getting vaccinated. Vax to school before next September. So you're either leaving New York State or you're homeschooling. You have a little time to figure it out. Okay. All right. It's 5:21. We should really wrap this up. I just want to show you a quick little video clip. So before you pull that up, here's the thing, folks. I'm throwing on the headset, of course, because my ears are cold. No, because there's going to be a video. Actually, I don't even know if there's any audio with the video. But in any event, so you always have to, the left hand is doing something, right? So the left hand is making you get vaccinated. The left hand's making you wear a mask. The left hand is doing this. The left hand's doing that. Well, keep an eye on the right hand, okay? And, ever since this whole COVID pandemic came along, I've become more and more and more in tune with the local political scene, thanks in part to a lesson learned from a friend of mine and a radio host, Shannon Joy, who's on Wham 1180 every night at 9 o'clock. And, Shannon Joy has been a tremendous proponent of local control, right? Focus your efforts locally. Whatever's happening national, it's because it was born out of either local action or local inaction. So focus your efforts locally. And while I have definitely gone to that side of the camp, there are still things happening at the national level, especially right now when they have us so focused on the masking and the vaccination here locally. And then this is what's going on at the federal level. Our country is literally being invaded. There's the invasion, folks. You see all those women and children? You see all those families, right? What that is so there's one particular, and I'm lousy at doing my homework here. I just quickly was able to find that video, but there's one particular Fox reporter who's been incessantly following the invasion at the border, right at the U.S. southern border in Texas. And this was, I believe, 5 days ago. He's been doing nothing but gaining footage and putting out footage of these, people call them illegal immigrants and people call them refugees and . No, they're invaders. They're literally invaders. And the U.S. government is complicit. We allow them to come across the border. And of course, we're lied to. We're told that, oh, it's women and children and it's, we can't separate families and so on and so forth. Those were obviously, you can see with your own eyes, those were, 75 males, right? Adult males. Those were 75, 50, 100. I don't know. Those were adult males. This is just one video clip. This particular news reporter at Fox has already produced several dozens of these video clips. So there's thousands of these adult males that are being let into the country. And I've seen some of the videos where he zooms in and he mentions in this particular report, in the narrative, the written narrative of the report, that he can see the monitors, many of the ankle monitors on these individuals. And these individuals are basically allowed to come across the border. Then they're brought into some sort of, so-called detention center to make it look like they're being held. And then they're released out the back door. And they're typically put on a bus and sent off to Rochester, New York, in part, right? Catholic Family Charities, Catholic Family Center, whatever it's called. They're complicit in bringing these people in. So that's what's going on. So yes, you need to continue to focus on the local stuff, the masking and the vaccination, but just know at the exact same time, because we're human, we're just one person at a time here. We can't fight every fight. While we're fighting one fight over here, putting one fire out or trying to put a fire out, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and their ilk are literally allowing our country to be invaded as we speak, right? These people aren't required to be vaccinated. We are. They're not. If you're a nurse, you got fired for not being vaccinated. If you work at a private company, you got fired for not being vaccinated. If you're a teacher, you got fired for not being vaccinated. If you're an illegal invader from another country, from who knows where, you come right on in. So we're being invaded, folks. That's that. All right. Thank you so much. We've gone way over time here. Thank you, Austin, for sticking with me. Thank you for joining me here on the Got Freedom podcast, on the We the People podcast network. Please share this out if you can. Please go to the We the People podcast network on Facebook if you haven't already and become a member. Once you get there, you'll see that we have many other individuals that do podcasts. We have the Kimberly's Revolution podcast every Tuesday and Wednesday. I typically join the Revolution podcast on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. With co-host Kimberly Ray and Tom Morgan, just Tom, as we like to call him. And but yeah, go check out the We the People podcast network. You can see all the other podcasts that are on there and that are available on there. And we appreciate you following us. Thank you for joining me here tonight, and go America.